So welcome to Narration, my new brand. It's about helping brands that tell their story. Because that's what narration is. It's a series of stories. It's a series of narrated events, etc. And I'm delighted to kind of bring this to the marketplace. I suppose you could say it's a storytelling agency because I'm very much about the story. I think everything has a start, middle, and an end. And because obviously we're in a digital era, I want you all now to take out your phones, especially all those students of mine, surely you know at this stage. And come on, if I can't take advantage of this moment, I want you to all tweet #narration, take as many pictures as you want. This is the one time I allow you to go on your phones, there's no problem. You're all there, see can we get it trending. I'm going to be across all the social platforms which you'll expect. Obviously there's nothing there at the moment bar a logo and a cover photo, because I didn't want to start the story, because the story starts tonight. So this is the start of a journey. But you might notice something about that logo. As I said, it's a wishbone, and people might say, what's the wishbone about? And I suppose up to now, I was afraid to tell my story, my true story. The story some people in this auditorium will know it, the majority of you won't. So why use a wishbone? Well, wishbones are fragile, just like me. I suffer from a condition called Osteogenesis Imperfecta, also known as brittle bones, and this is me as a kid. And from the age of 6 months, I broke my leg and went on to break over 50 bones in my lifetime, most of them before the age of probably 13 or 14. It eased off at that stage, luckily enough for me. But it meant that I was remarkable. And that can be a positive thing as well. So from a very early age, everyone spoke about me. That's the boy who breaks his bones. That's the boy over there. Watch him, he'll crack. So different things like that. So I was made for the stage, if you think about it, because people used to say, break a leg. And I'd be saying, don't say that to me, because actually that could happen. If I fell, that actually could happen. And actually back in 2007, I had a bit of a relapse where I ended up breaking my leg. I was just about to be a star performer in an opera in the Everyman, and I had to pull out because I ended up breaking my ankle and doing my shoulder at the same time. Hopefully nothing happens tonight on the stage. But what's really interesting is the journey I've been on. Because of that, I had to start off my journey here. I started school in a place called the Cork Spastic Clinic, which a lot of people might now know as the Levana Centre. It's such a kind of, I suppose it's a place I'm very fond of, because it was a place that believed in me. I stayed there from 1984 to 1988, and I believe I wouldn't be here today in terms of the presence that I have, because they gave me the grounding, the positivity, the encouragement that I have today. And it was teachers like this and the principal. This is me on my communion day, but they put me on the stage, whether it was shows like Annie, etc. They put me in the Fesh Matthew, because it didn't matter what you suffered from. There was no limits, and that's Enable Ireland's campaign, because Enable Ireland at the moment, they are trying to get that message out there, that there are no limits, and there are no limits to your life no matter what. And in 1988, they spoke to my parents, and they wanted me to go into mainstream school. Mainstream school, remember, this was an age when there was no S&As and there was no things like that there is today. Kids that had disabilities weren't really, I suppose, accepted in mainstream school, because it was a hard task. A totally different culture, totally different to what we have today. But I did, and I went to Scully Sagan in Farnry, and I suppose that's me. The fractures continued. That was my first sign of conservation, actually, as well. There I was getting in touch with the monkeys before the Patrick Street ban, as well, with the cars. But that went on, and I suppose so I went to Scully Sagan, and I fitted in grand. I fitted in well. And then, unfortunately for me, I got an operation, and I was having a lot of damage with my legs, etc. I got an operation, and I was in cast for 4 months. And when I came out of it, I got a mental block. I was only 10. And I couldn't walk for about a year or so afterwards. I just couldn't figure it out, couldn't do it anymore. As a result, I missed the whole of fourth class, the whole lot of it. So I have a great excuse when it comes to the kids now, because I tell them that I was missing that day in school. You know, so if they ask me to do their homework, I tell them that. But I missed the whole of fourth class, and that was grand. And I went back to school, etc. And then I got another relapse. I was flying again, and then into sixth class, I broke my femur, and then I ended up on crutches, just as I was about to go into secondary school. And that meant for the first 2 years in secondary school, I suppose I was on crutches. And I thought that was going to be it then. I thought physically, this is it, I'm going to be stuck there. And people like Dave, who was over there, was like, I owe everything to him in school when I started, because he was the guy that brought my bag around every day when no one else would kind of even suggest to do it. So he was fantastic, and that was in Mayfield. But I love marketing, and the likes of Adidas and Nike have fierce, powerful campaigns. So impossible is nothing. They used a quote from Muhammad Ali. He said, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. And it isn't nothing. Especially the impossible became possible because I had the support. I am very, very lucky that I have two amazing parents that were there for me on the journey all the way. They're sitting over there, and they pushed me, because I have a tendency to be lazy. And I know for a fact that I wouldn't be walking, I wouldn't be up on the stage if it wasn't for them. And so I had to get on my bike and literally exercise. I could never cycle a bike, actually. To this day, I can still not cycle a bike, because if I fall, I'm in trouble. So I had to go on exercise bikes every Wednesday without fail. I was in CUH doing physio. And eventually, I gave the crutches away. And I walked. And I've never looked back ever since. In fact, I used to have a bet. There was guys in first year and second year, they had a bet going, because they taught me after we finished school, they had a bet going whether I'd ever actually come off the crutches. One said I would and one said I wouldn't. And it actually came to reality. And I suppose it was interesting that Nike had a campaign out recently, and it touched me, because I just said, look, it said, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. And I mean, I didn't have to sacrifice everything, but I did believe in something. I believed I would make it at some stage, that if I kept trying and trying and trying and pushing, it would work. And which led me to here. So having started in the Cork Spastic Clinic, which was the Levana Centre, I ended up in CIT, where I did my master's. And what's even better is I've ended up lecturing there, and I've ended up creating the first master's in digital marketing strategy. The two modules on it all by myself, which that means nothing is impossible, that you can. And that's the one thing that if anyone takes away here from tonight, if they have kids at home, if there's something wrong with them, give them the belief, because there should be no limits. So it's time for me to give back. So I'm offering any business in the room free consultancy if they are willing to help enable Ireland build what is going to be a fantastic facility for kids of our generation now, for our grandkids, for our great-grandkids. This is going to last a lifetime. It's going to cost, I think, 7.5 million. They have 6 in the bag. They have another 1.5 million to raise. They need to raise enough money to get the roof on it. They need to kit it out, etc. 600 kids will be treated in this building. There's a respite care centre in it. I got the site visit earlier in the year. It's just going to make a phenomenal difference to Cork. And this is a Cork thing. Cork businesses should support it. So if you're willing to do a fundraiser for this, or if you know of a business that are willing to do a fundraiser for this, I am willing to give my time, because I owe them for being here. And the types of services that I can offer are this. So what Narration can do, what my agency can do, is social media. I can speak at events. I can do mentoring. I can do recruitment. I can do training, and I can do marketing. And I can do all of those. And you can find out all the details on narration.ie.